Okay, we're so glad that you're here today for You're Not Doing It Wrong, a Dementia Caregiver's Emotional Survival Guide. It's my pleasure to introduce your presenter. Tami Anastasia is a dementia care expert, educator, and speaker. She's also the author of the acclaimed books Essential Strategies for the Dementia Caregiver, Learning to Pace Yourself, and Dementia, Caregiving, and Personal History, How to Help, Cope, Connect, and Heal. Tammy holds a Master of Arts in Counseling, a certificate in gerontology, and a certificate in end of life. She's also a certified senior advisor. For more than 30 years, Tammy has provided counseling services, dementia guidance, emotional support, and care strategies for family and professional dementia caregivers. She also facilitates a weekly support group. Please join me in welcoming Tammy. As she gives her presentation, please put any questions you might have into the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. Welcome, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Sally. Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending us today. Today, I'm going to start my presentation by discussing why we are here. We are here because caregiving can bring up emotions that catch you off guard or that you feel uncomfortable with. And we're often caught by surprise by our emotions and know this is just part of the caregiving journey. We're also here because your feelings are normal. They're not a sign that you're inadequate or that something is wrong with you. All your feelings count. All your feelings are the way they are for a very good reason. And try not to judge them or criticize them or label them. Also, your emotions can provide you with valuable information and they can help be your guide. I think of our emotions as an opportunity to use them to gauge how we're doing. We get caught up in labeling and judging and criticizing and beating ourselves up when in reality, we're better off asking ourselves, what are my emotions trying to tell me? What are they? What's causing me to feel this way? And then what do I have to do differently to feel better or to change? So use your emotions as a way to gauge how you're doing rather than using them against you and getting angry at yourself because you feel the way you do. You feel the way you do for a very good reason, and better to ask what's causing you to feel this way so you feel you have some control over one, accepting how you feel, and two, what could you possibly do different that would help you feel better? No judgment, no criticism. We're also here today because my goal is to validate your feelings and also provide you with tools to regulate, reflect, and reconnect. Caregiving can be very, very absorbing, and we can get lost in the caregiving. And I want to provide you with some tips and tools on how to stay or reconnect, stay connected with yourself and reconnect with yourself. So first of all, I want to talk about why do our emotions run so high? Because often if we understand why they run so high, we can be more accepting. And when we understand, that's 50% of the issue is, wow, okay, I'm not losing it. There's not something wrong with me. I feel the way I do for good reason. And one of the reasons why our emotions run so high is because of the continuous stress. It is ongoing 24/7. Even if we put them in a care home, even if we have care coming into the home, you're still on because you're responsible for their care. Fortunately, with help in the home, fortunately, in a care community, we have people providing more the day-to-day help. But nevertheless, you're on 24/7. Much more difficult, and you're on 24/7 when you are the hands-on person 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even again, we're constantly always on. And then what starts to happen is we get tired, our body breaks down, our emotions break down, we're exhausted mentally. So it's super, super important that we find little moments of where we can get respite, find little moments where you can take a break. But know that this is why emotions run high, because the demands and the responsibility of caring for a loved one with dementia are very high. Then we have repetitive questions, constantly being asked the same thing over and over again. And oh, let's add on now. Not only are we answering the same questions over and over, but now they're resistant to our help. So it would make sense that our emotions are going to run high because, again, we feel like we're hitting our head against a wall. We're trying to help. I've answered that a million times. And here again, it's going to make sense where you might get frustrated, you might get angry. But part of that is also us learning how to adapt to these changes so that we, again, feel better and also will feel in more control rather than reactive. Then our emotions will run high also because the losses are profound. In the dementia world, the loss you experience is called ambiguous loss. Ambiguous loss might even start from the time they get a diagnosis. Ambiguous loss could even start even prior to get a diagnosis when you start noticing some changes in your loved one. And the loss is very gradual. And because dementia progresses, each progression, each ability they're unable to perform, each thing that you used to be able to discuss, you can no longer discuss. The relationship shifts, it becomes very one-sided. That's a lot of loss. So our emotions run higher because we're experiencing loss on a regular basis. And again, it's called ambiguous loss. The grief you're going to experience is called anticipatory grief. So these are just good terms to help you understand that what you're experiencing is normal under these conditions. Then self-judgment that intensifies every feeling. Self-judgment is the enemy of you. Self-judgment is only going to beat you down. You criticize yourself for not, for snapping. You compare yourself to other people. Don't compare. You are doing the very, very best that you can. And once self-judgment comes in there, it is going to intensify our feelings. You already feel bad about something, and then now you start berating yourself, intensifies that feeling. And therefore, it becomes more difficult to be reflective and we become reactive. But self-judgment is a very unfair thing to be doing to yourself when you're working so hard to provide the best care, the love, and the support that you can for your loved one. And we have to factor in your needs as well. And then when we take the behaviors personally, really, really, really hard to detach and not take what they say and do personally. But when you can come up with a motto, one of the mottos that I like to help my clients come up with is dementia is causing my loved one to say and do these things. When I remind myself that this is about dementia, when I remind myself they have a broken brain, when I remind myself their brain is impaired, when I remind myself they're not doing any of these things with the intent to hurt me. Much easier said than done, but you want to practice, practice, practice because the truth of the matter is they are not doing any of this with the intent to hurt you. As a matter of fact, it's just the brain is impaired, it's broken, and they're just blurting out things because it's an impaired brain. So I know this is much easier said than done, but these things are what's going to intensify our emotions. And I just want you to understand that your emotions are what they are for good reason. And now we're just going to talk about how we might be able to manage our emotions better, but more importantly, allow yourself to feel the emotions without judgment, without criticism. So next, I want to talk about specific emotions because the emotions that I'm going to talk about today are the ones that I hear the most in my private practice. There's many others, but I wanted to highlight the ones that I see and hear frequently. So first of all, we're going to talk impatience, frustration, and anger. To be expected. We're taking care of a loved one living with dementia. The demands are high, the responsibilities are high. It is to be expected. My goal today is not to tell you you can't feel. I want you to feel the feelings without judgment, without blame, but rather than, again, use those feelings to help educate you, to help you to understand what is causing me to feel this way. So, some of the triggers for being impatient, frustrated, or getting angry is the repetitiveness, the repetitive questions. It's also the caregiving task, the demands, responsibilities are building up. They're building up. I have many clients tell me, I feel like I'm drowning. Frustration is definitely going to, and impatience is definitely going to hit when you're running late, you're trying to get to a doctor's appointment, and your loved one is very slow. So, there we're going to have to allow more time for your loved one to get ready. But when we're running late, it's going to increase the chances we're going to be impatient, we're going to get frustrated or angry, and of course, fatigue. So let's look at what these emotions may tell us. They're telling us that we're stretched thin. They're telling us something needs adjusting. And more importantly, they're telling us that you need more support, maybe more rest, or we have to change our expectations to meet the realities of our situation. So, a lot of frustration and anger and impatience is going to occur when we have expectations of our loved one to be and do things a certain way and they can't. And then, of course, our own expectations of ourselves to be perfect. There is no such thing as being perfect. You all are doing the very, very best that you can. And when you get angry, when you get frustrated, when you get impatient, just ask yourself, what are these emotions trying to tell me? Then the negative self-talk comes right along. So I kind of equate negative self-talk. Dementia erodes the brain. Dementia damages the brain. Negative self-talk erodes the self-esteem and it erodes our confidence. You're all working so hard to provide the best care. Please do give yourself permission that we substitute the negative self-talk with positive self-talk. If any of your friends, anyone you adored, anyone you cared for, and you heard them say these things, you would go out of your way to help them change the self-talk. If I were doing a better job, I wouldn't feel this angry. No, you feel angry because the circumstances upset you. It doesn't mean you're doing a bad job. It just means the circumstances are triggering. Caregivers don't lose their temper. Well, yes, we do lose our temper. And our temper doesn't make us good or bad. It's just something has occurred, and try not to judge it. Try not to implement the self-talk that's going to make you feel worse. It's not fair to you. You're working way too hard to have this negative self-talk, and it's not even correct. The self-talk, the negativity is not correct. Okay, so what I try to help clients do is to reframe what you say to yourself, because when we reframe what we say to ourselves, it changes how we feel and it changes how we act. So rather than thinking you're this horrible person for getting frustrated or angry or impatient, allow yourself to see that impatience and frustration are indicators, they're signs, they're signals, they're not failures. It is not a personal failure. You are human and you're going to have these feelings, and use these feelings to educate you and to empower you rather than defeat you or deflate you. Next, I'm going to talk about guilt, inadequacy, and shame. So I'm going to put a question out there. Don't expect any answers. It's food for thought. But I want you to start thinking, what would you do differently if you did not feel guilty? Guilt often is triggered by us not meeting unrealistic expectations. Often those expectations can be based on either expectations, cultural expectations, or family messaging. or when we compare ourselves to others. We put this pressure on ourselves to be perfect, to stay calm at all times. And you believe you should be patient and strong at all times. And the reality is that it's really almost nearly impossible to do because you are human. You have needs too. And so please give yourself grace, give yourself permission, and again, ask yourself, what can I do differently? Because if the guilt's consuming you, it's not you being inadequate, and there's nothing that you're doing that you should feel shameful for. You're doing everything you can to provide the best care. So, what these emotions might signal are you're holding yourself to an impossible standard. I myself struggle with perfectionism, and I'm learning and learning and learning. There's no such thing as perfect. I do the best that I can under the circumstances. Yes, some days are better than others. A bad day doesn't mean I'm a bad person. And you internalize stress as personal failure. You're not failing by any means. It's not a personal failure. You are not failing your loved ones. You're doing the best you can to manage a situation that is demanding, manage a situation that is hard. There is no perfect rule book. There's no perfect roadmap. The dementia journey is learning by doing. Give yourself permission to learn by doing. So it also signals you need to be more compassionate. Give yourself permission to be human and tweak your expectations. Tweak the expectations that are realistic. Tweak your expectations so they support you rather than defeat you. Negative self-talk, here again, for anything negative, we want to spin it so it becomes positive. I'm letting my loved one down. No, you're not. You're not letting your loved one down. You are trying to manage circumstances that are very, very, very challenging and difficult. I'm falling short of what they need. No, you're not. We're all trying to figure this out. We're trying to meet every need. And yet you are going to be affected by the care you provide, but you're not letting them down. You're doing the best that you can. Other caregivers don't struggle like this. Well, one of my favorite things about a support group is that everybody shares honestly, authentically, and you know what? You're not alone. You're going to hear people feel the same way you do. We all struggle in our own way, but we all struggle to get through it in the best way that we can. So try reframing and think of your reactions don't make you inadequate. They mean that I'm overwhelmed. They mean that I'm stressed, but they don't make you inadequate. Next, I want to talk about overwhelm, numbness, and being burned out. So let me say a few words about feeling numb. It is not uncommon where clients will say to me, Tami, I just feel numb, and they think they don't care anymore. And that's not true. When we go numb, it's because we're trying to protect ourselves. We're so overwhelmed with emotions that we go numb to protect ourselves from the emotional intensity. That's not a bad thing to do if you're feeling so overwhelmed and you are just fatigued. That numbness gives you a time to sort of check out. Now, it becomes concerning if numbness becomes the norm for 6 months to a year, but often numbness isn't going to last that long. The numbness is, this is so intense right now. I need a little emotional break. I need to just give myself a little bit of breathing room so that I can recharge. So I want to make sure that you don't interpret numbness as being a defect or something is wrong with you. It is a defense mechanism that will kick in when we're on emotional overload and I need to give myself a breather. So common triggers will be the chronic stress, not taking enough breaks, and disrupted sleep. When our sleep is affected on a regular basis, then it's really hard to recharge our battery, and we're going to be feeling we're always behind the eight ball. And then the emotional overload. And caring for a loved one with dementia is an emotional overload. and can be an emotional overload. And we just have to find that balance between being there, being available, and still being able to take care of ourselves. So, what these emotions tend to signal is that you're depleted mentally and physically. No judgment that you can't meet these demands without somehow getting a break by replenishment, by taking a nap, by getting some good sleep, maybe bringing in some care, asking a friend to come and visit. But somewhere you need some rest, you need support, and maybe some shared responsibility. Maybe we need to set up a schedule where we can have people come and visit with your loved one more frequently, so it gives you a little bit of a break. And but the main thing these things are going to tell you is, I need more time to recharge. And then the negative self-talk. Again, other people can do this. Why can't I? You're equal to everybody. We're all doing the best that we can. Other people can do this, and you're doing it too. And your feelings count, your emotions count, and taking care of you counts. I shouldn't be this tired. Well, I haven't met anybody yet on this journey that hasn't been tired. You will be tired. And how do we nurture you? How do we take care of you? How do we help you recharge? How do you give yourself permission to recharge? And I am going to say this very loud and clear. None of you have lost your compassion. You all are very compassionate, and because you may feel overwhelmed or numb or burned out, doesn't mean you've lost your compassion. So reframe your thinking to think of burnout and feeling numb are signs that you're under a lot of stress, you're overwhelmed. They are not character flaws. There is not something wrong with you. You are human and your feelings matter. Next, I want to talk about helplessness, hopelessness, and wanting this journey to end. I hear this a lot, wanting this journey to end. And my clients often feel horrible for thinking this way. So let's put this into perspective as well. So, common triggers for wanting this journey to end or feeling helpless or hopeless is the repeated crisis. Things happen. Your loved one breaks a hip, they get a UTI, they're dehydrated, they've fallen, their vitamin B12 is low. The escalating care needs, as dementia progresses. Dementia, your loved one's needs are going to increase. They're not going to get better. They're going to increase, and then they increase again. The other thing I hear a lot is the isolation that you feel, feeling alone. And that is, again, where we need to make sure that you find a place where your needs get met. You find a connection outside of dementia, whether it's joining a support group, whether it's attending a mahjong group, whether it's listening to your favorite music and or talking to somebody about a movie you saw. But this isolation and feeling alone will trigger wanting this journey to end. And you're not wanting this journey to end because you wish them to being dead. You want this journey to be over because the journey and their quality of life has changed. And then also you go long periods without relief. And then again, the cumulative grief. The grief, again, is the anticipatory grief. We know the trajectory. We know things are going to progress. And so this can make us feel very helpless and very hopeless. So what these emotions tend to signal is that you're carrying more than one person can sustain. I always say dementia demands more care than one person can provide, and that is the truth. Caregiving demands more care than one person can provide. It is true. As the needs increase, it becomes almost impossible for one person to manage it all on your own. And the best thing you could do is allow yourself and give yourself permission to say, you know what? I have limitations. I need to acknowledge my limitations. And at what point is it time for you to bring in help or support? And your thoughts reflect exhaustion, not a lack of love. Many people feel horrible about wanting this journey to end and feeling like, oh, I don't love them anymore. It's quite the opposite, actually. You love so deeply that you want this journey to end for them because their quality of life has changed. So think of it as loving so deeply. That to me is a gift, that you love so deeply that you want better for them and also better for you. The negative self-talk. What kind of person even thinks like this? Well, if you were in my private practice, you would hear this is very, very, very common. If you're in my support groups, you're going to find this is something that is said frequently, again, because of the circumstances. And it takes a lot of love and compassion to be able to say out loud, wanting this journey to end. It's okay to feel that way. There's a lot of loss and sadness on this journey, and it's okay to feel wanting this journey to end. No one understands how hard this is. No one knows what it's like to be in your shoes. And what we all have in common is that we're human and we all know what it's like to feel. And you are not alone, but it can feel alone. So you want to reframe. Hard thoughts don't make you a bad caregiver. They come from loving deeply in a situation that's beyond your control. Next, I want to talk about sadness and grief, because as I said earlier, the ambiguous loss, the journey begins very, very, very early on as things start to change, as their abilities change, as their cognition changes, as the relationship changes, as conversations change, as they withdraw, they become more quiet, they are less expressive. Sadness and grief is part of this journey. Common triggers: changes in personality, lost in abilities, one-sided conversations, reminders of past relationships, milestones, or holidays can be very, very triggering. Give yourself permission to feel the sadness, to feel the loss. No judgment. Just allow yourself to feel the sadness and the loss. You are not wrong and you are not bad. Feelings are feelings and you are human. So what these emotions tend to signal is you're grieving ongoing losses. That is the truth. And some losses might hit harder than others, but nevertheless, it is a loss. How how you miss the relationship the way it used to be, not just the person's abilities. You miss your partner. You miss the person you laughed with, you shared everything with, you did things with. These are real emotions. And you need space to feel sadness without judgment. Give yourself permission. So I often say to people, what can you do to nurture the sadness and the grief? What can you do to comfort the sadness and the grief? Because that is what you need, is comfort and comforting the sadness, comforting the grief, nurturing the sadness, and allowing yourself to feel is okay. The negative self-talk: I need to be stronger than this. You are strong. You have feelings. You feel sad. You feel the grief. You feel the loss. Doesn't make you a weak person. It makes you a strong person. No one wants to hear this again. Oh, yes, we do. We love you. We care about you. We want to hear how we can support you, how we can be there for you. And other people have it worse. Can't compare apples to oranges. We're all very different. We're all very different people. We're all people working very hard. We're all beautiful people doing the very best that we can. It's not worse. It's not better. It's equal. And what we do on a day-to-day basis, we're all equal because we're human. We're all equal because we feel. No one has it better or worse. We're all just trying to survive in the best way we know how. So change the reframe to be, my grief is a reflection of my love. not a failure to cope. It's really hard to allow ourselves to feel the feelings, but I want to give you permission and I want to encourage you to feel the feelings because your feelings count. You too are deeply affected by this journey, not just the changes that occur with your loved one, but also the changes that you witness that you too experience. So, next, aside from the emotions, our body can be a very good gauge too. Oh, I'm sorry, before I go there, let's normalize and validate your feelings. It is really important. Try not to self-judge and normalize and validate your feelings. So I'm going to give you some phrases to remind yourself to say to yourself if you're beating yourself up, if you're being self-deprecating, if you're judging and criticizing yourself. Use these phrases to normalize and validate your feelings. I can't stress enough that when we change our self-talk, when we change our perspective, it changes how we feel. It changes how we react. So, some phrases. Anyone would feel this way in your situation. That's a fact. My reactions make sense given the stress I'm under. That's a fact. This is hard because it's hard, not because you're failing. Some examples of affirmations. I'm doing the best I can with what I have today. That's a fact. That is the truth. Some days are better than others. My feelings deserve compassion, not criticism. Please do the best you can to be more compassionate with yourself rather than criticizing yourself. It's not fair. I would give everybody $1 million if self-criticism made you stronger and better and really made you feel better. It does the exact opposite. Compassion for yourself is nurturing, is comforting, and giving you the support and the love that you deserve to give back to yourself. I'm allowed to feel what I feel. So I'm a very emotional person. And I used to get criticized by friends and in my family. Oh, you're so emotional. You shouldn't feel that way. And for years, even I had to go to therapy to learn it's okay to feel what I feel without judgment, without criticism. I am a feeling person. I'm a sensitive person. It's okay for me to feel the way I feel. So give yourself permission to feel the way you feel without judgment, without criticism, and allow your feelings to help gauge how you're doing. And I am not doing this wrong. This journey, again, is a journey of figuring out as we go along. So I have the saying, note to self, note to self, note to self. That's what I say to myself every single time when I need to learn something. And I do a lot of notes to self because sometimes it takes me 5, 10, 20 times to finally learn. Note to self. So it's not that you're doing it wrong. We're just trying to figure out how to do it differently and better, but you're not doing it wrong. Next, I want to talk about how our body can also indicate that something's off and that we need to change and that we need to listen to. So tension, shallow breathing, and fatigue can be early warning signs, signs that your nervous system is moving into fight or flight. And it takes a split second for us to go there, like a split second. And that we tend to want to react rather than respond. Allow your body to gauge how you're feeling or how you're doing, and allow your body to be your teacher. Allow your body to be your guide as well. And before, if possible, not always, it's a practice, 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 pausing before reacting. So there's a couple things that you can think about doing. You could stop mid-sentence when you find your voice getting sharper. You could put your hands on the counter or a chair before responding. Like sometimes I'll lean into a table like, okay, hold on. You're kind of getting upset. Take a breather. And sometimes I will make a fist and then I'll release my fingers. I'll make a fist, release my fingers to try to get my body to quiet down, to get myself to slow myself down before I react. Now, this being said, you may still react, but you'll do the best you can to catch yourself and see if we can intercept it, even delay it if possible. But I don't expect perfection. And I want today not to be interpreted in any way that you're doing anything wrong. These are just suggestions, these are just tools. And whatever you adapt to, whatever you adopt, whatever you're willing to try, you give yourself credit for whatever you're willing to try. But don't judge yourself or walk away and say, oh, again, I'm not doing this right. There's no right or wrong. It's just us trying to figure it out and manage what we have in front of us. There's simple grounding tools. Take one slow breath before answering or continuing a task. Sometimes I have to take a deep, deep, deep breath and then kind of just, let it out slowly. Some clients gave me this suggestion. They press their feet into the floor just to kind of like get grounded, like, okay, don't go there. Hold on, hold off. Try not to say that. These are just ways to try to intercept a pause, a brief moment before we react. You're still going to react, and you may not be able to intercept it every time. But these are just signals and signs that might allow us to just slow down just a tad, give ourselves a moment to regroup, collect ourselves, and then proceed on. So some quick emotional regulation tools. 30 seconds of deep breathing. So what really happens when we get triggered is that nervous system gets kicked in 1 instant. And so what we're trying to do is to reset our nervous system. So we're trying to reset by getting ourselves repositioned in a calming to make ourselves to feel better. And so there's things that we can do, and we can do them in 20 seconds. It doesn't take 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes to regulate our system again. It can happen in quickly as 20 seconds. So 30 seconds of deep breathing, small mindfulness moments. So I can tell when I'm getting tense because my shoulders, I tend to creep up my shoulders, and then I have to remind myself to drop them. And all of you, just for the heck of it, go ahead and bring your shoulders up and imagine, feel the difference when you lower your shoulders. Some of my clients have what we call a centering object. So some will have a very soft, smooth, what I want to call a stone, and they'll have it in their pocket. And when they start to feel that they're getting angry or upset, or they're just about ready to lose it, sometimes they'll just have this thing in their hand that they rub in their pocket. I've given some clients a soft ball. We'll keep it in their pocket, and they'll clench it and then release it, clench it and release it. Anything just to try to recenter. I happen to do this with my fingers. I might count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or sometimes I'll open a fist, close it, open, close it, open, just to try to re-regulate my system, just to try to get me to, again, recenter myself a little bit. Micro breaks, step into another room, excuse yourself, go drink water. Another one is gentle movement, go for a little short walk, stretch. And I also now have added, I shake out the tension. And another thing I do is I keep some bubbles, and I blow bubbles. And I have to tell you, that's so incredibly calming. Sometimes if I have a session and I feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't do a very good job, and I'm upset with myself, I'll start to blow the bubbles. I'll reframe what I'm telling myself, and it allows me to recenter. So these are just little tools that might help regulate, when you find yourself wanting to go for the jugular, you're so upset. These are just nice ways, again, to bring comfort and calm to a situation that got very heightened. Regulation doesn't require 20 minutes. It can take 20 seconds. So next, I want to talk about connection and support, because again, when we are a caregiver, it becomes all consuming and we can get lost in the journey. So caregiving requires more support than one person can provide. I've said that many times. So what can happen is that you're going to get very exhausted, and carrying everything alone leads to exhaustion and resentment, not better care. You beating yourself up is not going to provide better care. You being loving, comforting, supportive, nurturing is going to lead to better care. Giving yourself a break, giving yourself permission to ask for help is going to lead to better care. Support groups help normalize feelings. Again, I love my support groups because one of my favorite things, another favorite thing is someone new to the group will come in and they'll say, "So I'm wondering, has anybody ever experienced such and such?" And I swear almost everybody's hands go up. What is lovely about support groups or having a person to support you is that hearing in the support groups others describe the same anger, the guilt, the grief, helps you realize you're not doing anything wrong, helps you realize you are normal. There is nothing defective about you, and you're not doing anything wrong. Journaling helps clarify and also is an emotional relief. Writing down your thoughts, feelings, and emotions can allow for reflection. So, again, these are just ways of reconnecting and providing the support for yourself that you need. Also, delegating, I know much easier said than done. It does protect your energy. Letting go of tasks does not mean you're giving up responsibility, it means you're pacing yourself. And you want to establish a support network that, maybe John can come in and take your loved one out to lunch. And then maybe Betty can call you on Fridays and you could go out for coffee for a little bit. I know caregivers struggle with delegating, but do the best you can. But here's a secret to the delegating, and I hear this a lot. So when we want to delegate or we want to ask for help or we need help with some responsibilities, try to tap into what you know they like and what they enjoy doing. So I'll use myself as an example. I'm great at running errands. I am great. I could take you or your loved one out to lunch, out to dinner. I'm not good at cooking. So you'd want to capitalize by asking me to do things for you that you know that I enjoy, that you know that I'm good at, that you know that I'm comfortable doing. And I hear a lot. Support goes by, gets very small, friends disappear. And again, we want to tap into friends have limitations too. Friends have a comfort zone too. They're not abandoning you because they're abandoning you. They have limits too, and they have comfort too. And so we tap into people and tap into things that make them feel comfortable, and then they can choose whether or not to help, but know that they're not rejecting you because of you and your circumstances. They all have limitations too. And we want to try to tap into what we know they enjoy doing, what they like to do. Respite is essential. It's not indulgent. I honestly have to say regular breaks do prevent burnout more effectively than waiting until you're at your breaking point. And then giving back to yourself. This is one of my favorite things, giving back to yourself. Find a ritual that allows you to give back to yourself. So it might be what I call a comfort cup. It could be hot chocolate that you have time. I'm giving back to myself. I'm giving myself the compassion, the care, the support, the comfort that I need. Self-kindness notes, I love that. That originated from a client. She goes, Tami, I am so tired of being so hard on myself. I'm going to start writing myself self-kindness notes. And I cannot tell you the difference it's made in her and how she feels about herself and the care that she provides. And then I also say gratitude pause. Even, even when you think I almost blew it, I almost lost my temper and I held back, give yourself gratitude for holding back. In other words, find time in your day where you can give yourself grace and be grateful of you. Joy builds resilience. Meet a friend for coffee while someone else is caring for your loved one. Really hard, really, really hard. And I know some of these suggestions are hard to implement, but really see what you can do to find little opportunities and moments to honor you, to honor your love, to honor your care, to honor your support and your compassion. So next we want to shift our perspective. So perspective makes a big difference in how we feel, how we cope, and what we do. So focus what's in your control. What's in your control is what you say to yourself, how you process your feelings. Emotionally, try to detach from behaviors that are caused by dementia and practice, practice, practice. Do the best you can not to take personally what your loved one says and does. They do not say and do things with the intent to hurt. They don't say things with the intent to make you angry. They have a broken brain. Everything you're experiencing from them is because of what's happening to their brain. Also, do the best you can to see what your personal triggers are. Know what the triggers are. Is it the repetitive questions? Okay, let's plan and prepare for repetitive questions. Your loved one will not be able to change, but what can I do? What are my triggers so that two things, I'm aware of them, and then how can I comfort myself when they occur? And then challenge perfectionism. I challenge perfectionism every single day. I don't think of perfect. I'm just doing the best that I can. The best that I can is the best that I can. Lower your expectations to match current reality. This is very, very difficult. And I do believe it requires a lot of grief to let go of what was in order for me to embrace the current reality. You know, clients will often tell me, I need them to stop this. I need them to stop doing this. They can't stop. So I have to change my expectations because the more we want them to be a certain way, then the more frustrated you're going to become. And so change your expectations of yourself to be more forgiving and work on understanding the impairment that's occurring is because of what dementia is doing to the brain. Focus on small successes. I don't care how small it is. It's important. Celebrate it. It's deserved. And when you can, use humor when appropriate. I do spend time laughing with clients because some things are so intense. Some things make you want to cry. And sometimes that humor just allows us to embrace it for what it is. Not in a sarcastic way, but in a very gentle and loving way. And replace self-criticism with self-compassion. Self-compassion will go much farther than any criticism on this planet. Clients will share with me, I wish my loved one would appreciate me more. What others cannot give you, please give to yourself. You want to feel appreciated with yourself. You want to feel you're doing a good job, know you are doing a good job. You want to feel that you matter, know that you matter. You question whether you're doing a good enough job or not, know that you're doing a good job. Give you the language, the support that you want others to provide for you. Believe in you because you're the most important person that has to believe in yourself first. So please try to replace the criticism and be more compassionate, more understanding, more loving because you deserve that. So key takeaways are you're not doing it wrong. These emotions do not mean you're broken. They mean the situation is profoundly challenging, and it is. It also means that you're doing the best you can with enormous demands and responsibilities. And your feelings are valid. No matter what, your feelings are valid. And your efforts matter. And you deserve compassion too. Please do the best you can to replace guilt with grace. So that being said, that concludes the PowerPoint. I'd like us to do one more thing. Um, I don't hear anybody's mic, but would all of you read this out loud? This quote by Rosalind Carter. On three, we'll read it out loud together. So on three, one, two, and three, there are only four kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. Thank you all for the love, the care, and the support that you provide. But more importantly, please be more loving, kind, nurturing, and compassionate with yourself, because you are equally as important as the person you're taking care of. So that being said, Sally, I think I will turn it back over to you.
Great. Thanks so much. And thanks for so many important concepts and actionable strategies to put into practice. If you need some extra support, if you're frustrated with the cognitive changes in your loved one, if you feel guilty or if you feel grief, if you're expressing or experiencing frustration about your loved one's resistance, any types of issues you need, Tami can help. The URL is here, but also the QR code. So if you'd like to schedule your appointment with her, you can do that. Please advance the slide. And then Tami has a new initiative this year, Caregiver Support Hour. It's every Friday from 12 to 1 Pacific, and it's on Zoom. You can attend whenever it works for you, as often or as infrequently as you need. And we're really excited to offer 20% off sessions or packages for the month of February. So just use the promo code or the coupon code support at checkout. And again, you can go to that URL or you can just scan the QR code. And to those who asked, we are going to send out a copy of the power of this recording tomorrow, so you'll be able to access those QR codes as well. Please advance the slide. And we're really excited. Aaron Sumner will be receiving a signed copy of Tami's new book, and I'm going to put that info in the chat. What she talked about today was just the tip of the iceberg. So there's so much more in her new book. Okay, and these are her books. They're available on both Amazon and Audible. And I think that's where we leave it. Tami, if you could stop sharing. We
Yeah.
do have a couple questions that have come in
Okay.
that we have a few minutes
Okay.
left.
Hello,
Gr-
everybody. Good to see all your faces. Thank you
Yeah.
for joining us today.
Warren says, I've developed a situation that I cannot articulate my thoughts and I stutter. Is that normal when one is experiencing extreme anxiety and stress?
It can be, when we get very overwhelmed, and that is one way, again, listening to your body signals, right? That can be definitely. I don't know, again, I'm always cautious, you might want to just do a medical checkup, make sure that, nothing else underlying is going on medically, but absolutely that can get triggered. Um, I have a colleague, and her number one thing is she gets so nervous about public speaking, and when we're talking about it and she's rehearsing, she'll start not being able to get her words out because of the anxiety is so great. So it's very possible, but again, medically, we just want to rule out nothing else could be contributing to it.
Thank you. Hiroko says, my husband is at a memory care facility. He accuses me of an affair with the male caregivers if I speak to them, even though it's not true. It hurts me.
It does hurt. Absolutely. Nobody likes being accused of having an affair and I'm taking care of you and you're stealing my money and you want me dead because you want my money. It is incredibly hurtful, but you want to remind yourself this is dementia talking, not his heart, not his soul. It's an impaired brain saying things that are not true. Even though it is hurtful, it's very, very hard to be on the receiving end. But if I take it personally, then it's going to really get deep in my system. And you have to know it's the brain being impaired, but his soul and his heart are not feeling that way. It's an impaired brain thinking that way.
Thank you. And Bonnie says, Tammy has emphasized that we are not doing it wrong, but what if someone is doing it wrong? What's the best way to guide a caring but inappropriate family member or friend to be a better caregiver?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there again, we can't, how can I say, we can lead a horse to the water. We can't get them to drink the water. So all we can do is, I see a lot of families and all I can do is suggest these are things that are going to be helpful. These are things that are that are going to be better. But all we can do is educate, educate, educate. We can't control what people are willing or not willing to do. Put your energy into you offered, you educate. Often we'll tell them, hey, I tell them, order my book and send them my book, right? Um, we can only do what we can do. Yes, it's painful, but at the same time, we can't control what people choose to do and not choose to do. And don't forget, there's underlying dynamics in these families that spur each other, dementia or not. So I would take a deeper dive and look at the dynamics and try to, if you're the primary person, try to get you to detach from the dynamics and work around it. But we can't force people who don't want to learn. We can't force people to change. And then it makes our job harder, but I can certainly educate, educate, educate.
Great. Thank you so much. And then the final question, um, I need help with how to deal with resistance, particularly with money and house maintenance.
So that I do a deep dive with in my private practice. I have to ask a lot of personal information and help strategize on how to deal with that. So that is a common issue, and it is something that I do in my private practice. So please feel free to reach out to me, and if I can be of support one-on-one, I'd be happy to help you.